why you are here. You are here because this is your next project next year. So you are here to learn from the others, of course. So have fun, and I would like to welcome Lisa for number 1.
Why are dogs similar to their owners? This question has been in the world for quite a while, and today we would like to talk about it a little bit more. Have you ever seen dogs who look like their owner? Yesterday I was walking in the park and I saw an owner walking his dog, and they looked almost identical. Like they could be twins. Have you ever wondered why sometimes they are alike to their owners?
Today you will know about how dogs and humans become connected through appearance, personality and behavior. Different species, different body, but surprisingly the same lifestyle.
There's usually physical similarities between dogs and owners that can be visible. For example, the woman on the left has long hair, looks just like the dog, and then the woman in the middle looks similar to the dog with facial structures, and the man as well looks similar to the dog with his posture and physical similarity.
So now scientific evidence. There was made an experiment about physical appearance between owners and dogs. This experiment made Michael M. Roy and Nicholas Crispin. So Nicholas M. Roy is the really good psychologist, and Nicholas Crispin he's a doctor of psychology. And then they wanted to make together a project. So the project was made like this. So they picked 45 dogs and 45 its owners, and it was images of a dog and image of the owner, and there was 29 people that should make a pair, in correct way. And you know what? Every person got minimum 75% correct in this experiment, and this is quite a lot. So now let's focus on behavior. So dogs are copying behavior, and they can walk like you, sit like you, and the longer you have a dog, the better it starts to know you, and it starts to copy you even more. And you can have the same lifestyle, you can go at the same time, eat something or outside, and this is quite interesting.
I'm pretty sure we all know this following man in the picture. You can see how he and his dog are sleeping in kind of a similar position, like one arm out or one paw out in this case. And you could tell that they might have similar sleeping or nap times, so that they usually fall asleep next to each other or together. We also have characteristics that also dogs, they match their owner's vibe and character. So for example, if a dog has an old owner, he may be used to more of a calm lifestyle, not a lot of active activities, but of course still some going outside. And if a dog has an active athlete or fitness enthusiast, then they may be more used to an active lifestyle where they constantly run around or do something active.
So we gave you a lot of examples how they can be similar, but I didn't really explain with Kate why this is happening. So why are dogs similar to their owners? According to BBC Robson, this is happening because of your brain. Our brain works like this, that it usually chooses something familiar or something that you already had in the past. And this is happening the same with dogs. But I want first to give you one example. So when you're choosing your best friend or just a friend, you just want to know him or her a little bit more, and you want to know about hobbies, personality, and you're something choosing similar to yourself. And the same is with dogs. But unfortunately, we cannot speak to dogs, and we're just choosing them by appearance. So keep in mind that a small copy of yourself, appearance, behavior and characteristics, that's all in you and your small friend.
Hi everyone, so this is going to be our TED Talk. We're going to start off with a quick question to you. If you can name the situation on the following slides.
Do any of these photos look familiar to any of you?
Raise your hand if you may have an idea. first we'll show the next one and we'll go back to this one. Yes, yeah, Golda?
Blocking or ghosting.
Correct.
So basically our topic overall is about ghosting, but we're going to be focusing more on the psychology of ghosting.
Now, we want you to raise your hands if
You have ever been ghosted or if you have ever ghosted someone. It's okay, it's nothing to be ashamed about, it's a normal experience.
Exactly. It's like it happens to everyone to either get ghosted or experience ghosting in any sort of way because we're in this generation and we can't avoid it. But for those of you who don't know what ghosting is,
Basically, ghosting is the action of completely cutting off any types of communication with another person, whether it's messaging, calling, or any type of way to contact them, and just completely disappearing from someone's life.
but you might think, why do that? Well, first of all, we have emotional immaturity. People don't know how to communicate their feelings these days. They don't want to put themselves in an uncomfortable situation with another person, so they just decide to leave. Then we have fear of vulnerability. When you're really close to someone and they know a lot about you, you might be scared that they know too much and they might hold it up against you in a difficult situation, so you also decide to leave. And then we have conflict avoidance, which is basically avoiding confrontation or any uncomfortable situations that could possibly end or harm your relations with someone. This also kind of ties in with emotional immaturity because people don't want to communicate what they think. They want to avoid getting embarrassed, putting themselves in a weird situation that could possibly, end like
Affect their relation.
Exactly, that's why they leave.
So especially nowadays with this generation, almost everything is on social media. So we have the social media influence on ghosting. There's a 51% negative impact, and by negative impact we mean, for example, like catfishing, pedophilia, and so on. And you never really know, if you haven't met the person in real life and you're talking to someone online, you don't really know the person. And also has a 49% positive impact because also some relations can be long distance, so it's easier to communicate with someone. And you may be thinking, oh, like it's almost 50-50, like it doesn't really matter. But I personally think that it should even be close to 50% because that's half the people who have been hurt by someone else and they don't even have a reason why. And also, do any of you guys know the movie The Notebook? No?
The Notebook, yes.
Yes, so basically he wrote her a letter for 365 days straight, and she didn't reply to any, and also now again tying in social media also. For now, like nowadays, if you don't get a reply quickly, they just stop caring.
Exactly, and it's way less effort. Now you just get a text, what you're doing, how are you? But back in the days, you would have to wait for the letter. It would be more like connection-wise and less low effort.
Yeah, and even it might not just be about relationships, but it could also be about friendship and family connections. So now we're getting more into the psychological part, which is dopamine ghosting. So dopamine overall is basically the feeling of excitement, pleasure, and feeling rewarded. So if you ever felt excited, that's dopamine. So now dopamine ghosting. For example, someone could be yearning or craving for a connection with someone. So they start talking to someone, and then when they get like halfway through the talking stage, their body sends signals to their brain that, oh, I already have this, I don't need this anymore. And also these days, a lot of people care about their reputation, so it's easier to ghost someone than explain, oh, I got bored of you.
Exactly, and let's imagine that you're laying in your bed, it's like 10 o'clock in the evening, night, and all your friends at school have been talking about their great friendships, relationships, talking stages and whatever, and you're just like hearing that and you're thinking, oh, like why don't I have that? I'm kind of feeling lonely. So you go online, you find someone, you text them, you guys are texting back and forth for like a couple of weeks, and then the person that you texted wants to meet up. But you think, whoa, like this is too much, this is not what I wanted. I just wanted a cute little texting stage. I just wanted to fulfill like my emptiness kind of. And you got that, and so now it's getting a bit too much. So you decide to ghost them. That's dopamine ghosting.
And on the next slide, we're going to show you a short clip from the movie How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. And basically, if you don't know that movie, the context behind it is that they both used each other for their own benefits, not thinking about how the other person would feel. For example, he used her for a bet and she used him for her article.
Yeah, and after 10 days, the article was How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. She wanted to ghost him. So this is their confession.
Somebody you can test your theories on?
Yeah, I was just a girl somebody picked out in the bar.
Yeah, you know, it's a big deal. Hell, I'm sure now you can even use it as a little twist in your story.
It's a good idea. Maybe we should bet on it.
You know what? You did your job, you know what? You wanted to lose a guy in 10 days. Congratulations. You did it. You just lost it.
No, I didn't bet. Because you can't lose something you never had.
And we thought that we would include this in our presentation because of what she said. You can't lose something you never had. And for example, if you're the person that got ghosted, you start to overthink and you have a lot of self-doubt and you think, oh, like, did they even ever care in the first place? Did I ever have them in the first place?
But now we're going to talk about why ghosting hurts. Well, ghosting is basically a sign of silent rejection. When you get rejected, you get a no. You get a reason, mostly, sometimes. But ghosting is just somebody cuts you out of their life. And your brain, it focuses more on the unresolved feeling and it surpasses the resolved. So when you get like a finish line, that is when your brain kind of forgets about it, slowly starts to move on. But your brain really focuses on what didn't have a finish line. It just kind of disappeared into thin air. And also, when somebody cuts you out of your life, your brain reacts to it as physical pain. And then we have the long-term effects. We have low self-esteem. Obviously, when you get ghosted, you start doubting yourself. What did you do wrong? What did you say wrong? Am I the problem? But probably like 70% of the time, it's not you, it's just the other person. Then we have trust issues in the future. You get ghosted once, and you're scared you're going to get ghosted again, and you're going to get hurt again. And that's why when you get into another friendship or a relationship, you kind of distance yourself with someone, but like, you should trust them, you know? And then we have loneliness and depression. Obviously, when you doubt yourself, you also think that, like, am I not worth it? Am I not worthy of being friends with someone? But really, because they ghosted you, but really it's just the other person. And we also have depression because low self-esteem, loneliness, that kind of joins.
So we also have a quote from the movie franchise, All the Boys I've Loved Before, and Laura Jean Covey says, because the more people you let into your life, the more that they can just walk right out. And we agree with this because the more people you accept and you trust with you and yourself, the higher the risk and the chances of them just leaving. Because you may think you really know someone, but deep down, do you? And in conclusion, getting ghosted doesn't define who you are as a person, and it might be a lesson of personal growth if you're either the one that got ghosted or ghosted someone, because you should try to work on yourself first and try to work on communication skills if you ghosted them because you felt like you couldn't talk to them properly. Thank you.
So this time our topic will be artists versus AI, the difference in things we can still do. So lately I'm pretty sure we all have noticed that people have been using AI way more than we did before in the past. And we don't use it just for generating images, we use it for making essay prompts, email prompts, and many different other things. Just genuine stuff you can do yourself when you have free time. But so why are we still doing that? Is because we do not have time, we don't time manage enough, and people seem to be always stressed out in the current situations. But today we're going to be talking about what and images generations and against artists, what can we see? So, oh, this is nice, I like it. It looks a bit strange though, I wonder if it really is real. For many people online have been more cautious about what we see and what they see, calling arts that people actually made fake or AI. For example, like this artist, Peter Kozlov, he's a hyper-realistic painter in Russia, and he's been getting his paintings and artwork called fake. This is happening because people just don't think they have enough talent to create images, so they use it for their own good to try and create something on the same level as people who are professional artists. Of course, that doesn't, and many artists, they get their art called fake, as I already said, and that doesn't go for every single artist on the internet, because many of them really do post AI for hard work, but when it really is not a hard work and hard job to do. And on the statistics, we can see how many people that use AI use it for what, like 20% of people, they use it to create images. Then outlining and getting inspiration is not that bad, as sometimes you may be stuck and you don't have any idea what to create or make. Then summarizing is also not as bad as, of course, creating something and saying that it's your own work and making it seem like you created it and spent hours on it. There has been a lot of replacing the commission artists by using AI from companies, just people, and some of the most obvious examples I can see that has been happening last year was Coca-Cola. They tried to replicate their advertisement from 1995 that went really popular and used AI, fully AI, and called it their hard work, even though it was really obvious. And another example is Toys R Us in America. They replicated and made everything with AI, yet again saying it's hard work when it really was not. Then we have differences. So surely AI can make better images or creations than us, but it doesn't have any emotions. Like, it cannot express itself. It does not feel anything from creating something. It has a heart of stone. So whenever you see an image created by an artist, you can see some emotions they want to portray or what they wanted to say with it. And AI and pride only comes from work that is yours, and AI cannot create something and feel joy. Then comes the question, what if I want to check for AI? So how can we? Most commonly is noticing details like anatomy, shading, lighting, or like in pixel art, an AI, when it creates, it uses pixels, not real pixels. So the artwork will look really differently and it will look really strange. We all have accessibility to creating art, so we do not really need all that to create images for us. When you can just start off simply by just using a pen, pencil, or a pen, and just a piece of paper, anything. It could be in a school notebook even, it doesn't matter. If you don't want to create it, of course, on paper, you can always use digital, as there's multiple free apps you can use or pay to just create something on digital if you don't want to work traditionally. Then we need to stop using AI so much because we outsource our knowledge. We do not get the skills that you need for writing essays. You don't get practice in writing or speaking. So we need to think by ourselves. And that's the whole point of my presentation. This is the sources, and thank you so much.
Okay, hello everyone, I'm Sarah, this is Anya. I'm gonna, before we tell you our topic, we're gonna do an introduction. So, all that glitters is not gold, said by William Shakespeare. So when I say this quote, what comes to your head? Do you guys maybe have an idea what we're gonna talk about today? Guys, raise your hands, come on. No? No? Vlad? No? Vicky?
I'm not judging your friend's color.
Okay, yeah, that's close. So before we start, we're gonna play a little game.
Okay, so you've probably seen IQ tests or riddles and that sort of thing where you have to guess who the killer is based on the clues it will give you and you have a timer and that sort of thing. You've probably all played it before, but now we're gonna play it but with real people. So on the next slide we're gonna show you 3 people and one of them is an actual, you have to guess who the killer is, basically.
So we have our 3 contestants. So we're going to do a raise of hands of who you think the serial killer is. Now if you've already played this game, so class AA, please don't participate in this, as we know you know the answers. So raise your hand if you think it's number 1. Okay, number 2. And now number 3.
Wow, that's a lot of people for number 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to give you the answer. Number 2 is the killer. So, good congratulations to the number 2.
For the people who didn't choose 2, why didn't you choose him?
Paula?
Paula?
I mean, I guess he's like kind of good looking, so that's why I
Okay.
think you.
Lisa?
Because number 2 is the person and he doesn't look suspicious.
Oh, okay. And they got that?
Number 3 creeps me out.
Okay. Number 3 creeps her out.
Okay.
So also,
Kat?
I would just say that 2 kind of looks like the average person you see on the streets. Like, I don't think you would suspect that they would be the murderer.
Okay. And Ben? Ben?
I would say because number 3 to me looked like I found out that a lot of people might be smile or stuff of like murdering someone. So
Okay, that's a fair answer.
so all of these answers are very good, they're very accurate.
So when Paula said that he's kind of handsome, or when Kat said that he's kind of normal, you see him on the street, is exactly what we're going to be talking about today, because our topic is the halo trap. So the word halo doesn't come from anywhere. There is actually a psychologist have named this to people who didn't choose number 2 because they thought he was normal. There is actually a name for this, and as to why you thought that way, it's called the halo effect. So does anyone have any ideas what the halo effect might be, or do you want me to tell you? Okay, so I can tell you. So basically it's if someone is attractive, or they are normal looking, or they're more attractive than like the average person, you look at them and you go, well, this person is probably a good person. Like if you assume that if someone is attractive, then they are a good person, basically.
but now, why exactly do we think this way? So we have thought like this since a very young age. It's been brought to us from a young age due to TV shows and media, as they promote the fact that beautiful equals good. Now, if you think back to younger self, you watched comics, series, different like stories for children. Most of the time, the villains, they'd be dehumanized. They'd have quite excessive features. They would not look like a normal human being. Whilst the heroes, they'd be usually quite put together, good looking, and this was to make sure that children would see this villain straight away, think that's a bad guy. They'd be scared of him. It would create this feeling of like badness towards this person. So we're going to look at some of the examples. So now for the villains, we've got Voldemort and Frankie Krueger. So they can agree that these people, these 2, their features are quite brought out. They don't look normal. They're quite scary looking. So children straight away see these people as villains. They're straight away scared of them. Whilst the heroes in these stories are Harry Potter and Nancy Thompson. So we can see a huge difference between the heroes and the villains. You can already see who you're going to trust. You can already see who's going to do the bad deeds in what you're watching. So the thing is that this is not in real life. Like Kat said, you don't have villains looking like that. People who are serial killers look normal.
Yeah, like for example, now I'm going to show you some examples of some criminals and serial killers. And they actually looked like normal people. You would see them on the street, like Kat said, and they don't walk around with serial killer or criminal written on their chest or their head. They don't walk around like that. They don't look like the villains from the movies. And some of them are even good looking. So before we show you, all these serial killers we're about to show you are men, but that does not mean that a woman cannot be a serial killer or a horrible person. These are just the most famous ones that you've probably heard of. But there are cases of female serial killers, and just horrible women. So we're not just saying that men can be bad people. So let's take a look at some of the examples. We've got Ted Bundy, we've got Jeffrey Dahmer, and we've got Richard Ramirez.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to
show you what these three men did and how they used the halo trap and their looks, their appearances to their advantages.
Yeah, because they knew. I know what you're thinking. They're probably, some of them are quite handsome. I know I do, and I know Sarah does probably. But they use their looks to their advantage. They use the halo trap to their advantage. So now I'm going to show you how they used it. We're not going to go into full details because their crimes are not what it's about. We're just showing you how they use the halo trap. So Ted Bundy, what he would do is that he would wear crutches and a fake, he would pretend to be injured and wear an arm brace or a leg brace, and he would walk around and he would go to parks or like workplaces and clubs, and he would wait outside and he would wait for these women and young girls to come, and then he would say, oh, I need to carry this to my car, could you help me? And they saw him and they thought, well, you know, he's handsome, he's quite, you know, put together, he's got a suit, he has shaved himself, he's not like the villains from the movies, he's quite handsome. And, you know, that was their final mistake.
Now, Jeffrey Dahmer, what he did is that he'd go to gay bars and he'd walk up to a few men, start talking about businesses. That was his main topic he'd talk about, but he'd just start a conversation. Obviously, the men, they trust him, they talk back, he looked put together as well, quite good looking. So they'd just continue the conversation, go back and forth, until it was further on in the evening, and then Jeffrey Dahmer would ask, would you like to go back to my house to have a good time? And obviously the guys would agree because they had a good conversation, he was good looking, so what could go wrong?
Yeah, they thought that, you know, he's handsome, so he can't harm me. That's what they thought, basically. And the final guy is
Richard Ramirez. He didn't do what the other two just did. He didn't really lure them in because he broke into the people's houses. However, where he did, where the halo trap comes in place is when he was already put in prison. The truth was out, everybody knew what he did, and he was in his prison cell. What he would receive are love letters from women, even from young girls. All of you already know what a love letter is, but so I'm not going to explain that. But what was included in them were things like, you're too pretty to be in prison, we have to get you out. They were focusing on his looks and not really, they didn't bother to listen what was on the news, because at that time, everybody knew about it. So they were putting that aside and thinking, you're pretty, you shouldn't be in a cell, you don't fit the curriculum like people that look like they're in prison. So that's where that came in.
Okay, so now we're going to take a look, because all these serial killers, they operated before the 2000s, right? So there was no internet, there was no social media. The only way that people could find out about what he'd done if they read books or they watched TV. But now that all these serial killers are dead, by the way, so it's been long ago they were killed. But people we found. First of all, does anyone know what a fan edit is? Can I just say?
So basically, I think we've all seen fan edits of our favourite shows like The Symmetric Pretty, Outer Banks, Ginny and George, and things like that. I think we've all seen them. They take the most good-looking characters, the most I'd say the main characters in the story, and you'd have their pictures shot up on the screen with nice music, and it's just kind of a way to get people happy as well, to kind of promote the movie. But what we're going to show you now is the same thing but with serial killers. So you're promoting the person, their looks, it just isn't right.
Yeah, because we're gonna show you two edits of two serial killers we just showed you, because we couldn't find any of Jeffrey Dahmer because it was only of the TV show, and we wanted to show one of the real him, but we have two of Richard Ramirez and Ted Bundy. And if you look at it, you're probably gonna notice that it's focusing on their faces and not the crime scenes or what they've done. It's just focusing on the faces. So we're gonna show you two examples now of an edit.
Yes, I intend to complete my legal education, become a lawyer, and be a damn good lawyer.
Psycho killer, just to say.
Okay, so this is the amount of likes that this video got. Basically under 2,000, which is basically nearly 2,000 people seeing that video and clicking, yes, I like this. And you can hear the music in the background. It's like Psycho Killer, you know. That's the song that it was, and it's sort of like the equivalent to them sort of cheering it on. Yeah, and now I'm going to show you the other one.
birth, would you have hurt those people? Why would you kill those people?
So in this edit, you have both Richard Ramirez and Ted Bundy. And if you listen to the song, it's been quite popular around last year. And it also, the date is not visible here, but the date under this reel was 2025. So although both of these serial killers are dead, this had happened, what had happened was ages ago. People are still romanticizing them. People are still creating these edits. And it's also very happy they're not really looking at anything else, just their looks. As well, at the bottom, on the bottom right corner, you have their account where we got it from. It has just over 2,000 subscribers. Now, although many of influencers, they have more, 3 times, or not even 10 times more than this. However, the thing is that this is not the only account on Richard Ramirez. There are tons of accounts that, as you were looking at, on Richard Ramirez, on Ted Bundy, on Jeffrey Dahmer, there's a huge amount. So if you think that every single one would have around 2,000 subscribers, think about the amount of people overall. If you take all those accounts and add it together, it adds up to a huge amount of people creating these edits, watching these edits of serial killers. They're just focusing on their looks.
Yeah, and obviously the likes that you can see there is 273. It might not seem like a lot compared to what most YouTubers and influencers and TikTokers get these days, but let's, for example, imagine that your family member was someone that was killed by one of these people, and you're trying to forget about it, it's just impacted your life forever, and then you see this video, and you see it on his face, and the music, and the shots, and getting their best shots, and then you think that 273 people, could fill this entire hall of people saying, yeah, this is great, we want more of this, and we're subscribing to you. Imagine, how that must make you feel.
And if you look at it, they are only looking at the visual features, not actually on what they did. People are ignoring this fact, and that's just not how things really should be.
Yeah. And now we're going to go back to the quote at the beginning when we said all the glitters is not gold, because we hope that now that we've said this, that you sort of understand what we're trying to put across, that not everything that is beautiful and successful is good. Even nowadays, examples of, politicians and billionaires, they're not always great people. So I just thought I should say that.
And so we're not saying that don't look at physical features, because obviously when we see people on the street, the first impression we have of someone is on their looks. And we're never gonna, even if you say, oh, I prefer personality over looks, humans are made this way that we will look at looks. It's the first impression we have of someone. We don't suddenly look into them and know their personality. That's kind of impossible. So obviously, looks do come in consideration when you want to be friends with someone who you want to date and things like this. However, what we're trying to say here is don't make that be the only impression you have of someone. Allow their personality, what they've done in life, what they're going to do in life. Also, let that be the thought you have of who this person really is. Don't let the visual things be the only thing you see.
What Sarah was saying, that I know you might say go from this and say that, oh, we don't agree with the halo trap, we will go and we will obviously, like Sarah said, put personality over looks. But when you walk away and, for example, you see an attractive person and not a conventionally attractive person, you're going to lean more towards the attractive person whether you like it or not, because that is the face that is trustworthy, as you just shown the examples and reasons. And we're not saying, for example, go into someone who's not conventionally attractive's car or trust them immediately and stop talking to people that are beautiful. We're just saying maybe open your mind a bit more and try to understand.
Because no one can really escape the halo trap.
And everybody will obviously, pick beautiful people sometimes over not beautiful people. So yeah.
So we will start by listing out some characteristics that most people think separate us from wild animals, but that's actually not true. These are the traits that connect us with animals.
So we want you to raise your hand up if you have any idea for an animal that would fit the characteristic best. So first of all, strategy. Marta?
I think tiger.
Okay. Next, self-awareness. Anya? Sorry? Owl. Okay. Emotion. Ted? Cow. Okay. Problem solving. Vicky? Monkey. Okay. And consciousness. Okay, that's valid. So the answers are actually, well, Marta got the tiger, right? But still, I mean, the animals were close, but not close.
So first we're going to talk about the tigers. As Paula said before, the trait that connected with the tiger is strategy. So the tiger actually observes their prey, and depending on how they behave, they change their strategy. They are also capable of calculating the distance between them and the tiger. And you may think that they always complete their attack just as they wanted, but that's actually not true because they fail in up to 10% of their attacks, but they never give up, and that's something we should do as well. So tigers plan, they observe, and then they think about their attack, and we do the same thing, but we call only humans intelligent. And why don't we do the same about a tiger?
So next up we have the chimpanzee, which the trait for it was self-awareness. And you may all know that we are very similar to monkey-like species, like anatomically, with our evolution history, and even with our thinking processes. But did you know that we're so similar that we share even up to 99% of our DNAs, and both of us use tools and learn symbols. And the most interesting fact for me was that chimps actually have cultures, which I thought is like such a humane thing to have. And yeah, so that made me interesting.
And now we created models of brains, and this is the chimpanzee brain, and this is the human brain. And we didn't include the foldings on the brain because we wanted to embrace the colors so you see the parts clearly. And we're going to pass them around, but please do not separate them because we want you to see both of the brains at the same time.
Okay, so while we pass them around, we are going to talk about the parts of the brain. So first of all, we have the blue part, which is the frontal lobe, and it's responsible for thinking and planning. Then we have the pink part, which is the parental lobe, which is for sensing, touch, and space. And then we have the green part, which is the occipital lobe, which is for vision. Next, we have the red part, which is the cerebellum, and it's for balance and coordination. Then the yellow part, which is the temporal lobe for hearing and memory. And lastly, the teal part, which is the spiral cord, which carries messages from your brain to your body because it's connected to the spine. And on the model, you can see that we didn't really do the spiral cord 3D because we weren't able to, so it's just like a blue circle at the bottom. So also, we wanted to clear some of your doubts that you may have about the evolution, because many people think like that if we evolved from monkeys, why are they still here? Why are they still alive? And like if they're our ancestors? But that's actually not true. All of the monkey-like species, for example, orangutans, gorillas, bonobos, chimpanzees, and us humans, evolved from one common ancestor a long time ago. And we just adapted in different ways because we lived all over the world and we adapted to different environments. So that's why we have differences, but we're also so similar.
Next up we have the elephant, and as Paula said before, the trait is emotion. So they comfort one another and they can even learn from each other, especially their family members. They also mourn their dead, and they also have very, very good memory. So they can remember elephants that they haven't seen for years. And that's actually very shocking because that's hard for us humans. And something that I didn't know about before is that they recognize themselves in a mirror, and that may seem basic for us humans, but it's not that common in other animals. So now we have a little quiz. So you will have 30 seconds to remember all these objects and then try to tell us what are they.
Okay, so 30 seconds?
Yes, 30 seconds.
Okay, so you memorize the objects and I count 30 seconds. Start.
Okay, so we have some volunteers. Okay, let's go with Romy.
Chair, a firefighter, a shoe, and cupcake.
Let's see.
The bottom row.
The bottom row only. Oh, okay. Well, that's okay.
So now you see that took you a lot of effort, and actually an elephant is capable of remembering all these objects. And now you see that it was hard for you, so it was hard for an elephant as well, but it is capable of doing so. So now we will have a short video of an elephant painting, because I don't know if you knew, but they are actually know how to paint. So now let's talk about how do they actually do that. Because they're not born with the ability to paint. They're born with the precise control over their trunks and also with the memory. So they remember the sequences of the moves. So if they draw a circle once, they know how to do it the next time. But actually, to learn how to paint, they have special coaches that teach them how to do so. So they teach them how to use all those tools for painting, and they also, the elephants observe them and they train a lot to be able to paint.
So the next animal we're going to talk about is the octopus. And you may already know that they are very good puzzle solvers, and that was the trait that we talked about. And yeah, so that means they can solve even very complex puzzles, which we are going to see a video about. And they also use tools like elephants, but they use it for a different purpose, to protect themselves in the wild. And they learn to solve the puzzles through observation and experience. And they can recognize individual humans, and we know that humans and octopi don't live close, like naturally, to each other. So they can also recognize the water animals that they live with, but because we are doing a presentation about the similarities with humans, they recognize the humans as well. So now we have a short comparison of the human and octopi anatomy. So we can see that the humans have one heart and octopi have 3 hearts. Humans have red blood and octopi have blue blood. And humans have 86 billion neurons in their whole body, and octopi have 500 million neurons, so that's a lot less. And actually, 172 octopi make up 1 human being, so that is a lot. And also, there is a myth that octopi have 9 brains, but that's actually not true, because they have 1 central brain in the head, just like us. But in each of their leg, they don't have a brain. They have large clumps of neurons that help because of them, each arm can think partially independently. So that plays a big role in their problem solving skills. So here is that.
An octopus is put in a jar. Scientists close the lid to see if it can open the lid and escape. To save its own life, the octopus doesn't just panic, it uses its suckers to twist the lid and escapes in seconds. But what if the octopus is on the outside? Scientists tried a new experiment by locking a crab inside the jar instead. The octopus didn't hesitate. It unscrewed the lid from the outside just to get its meal. These creatures are so intelligent that even when you put them in a complex puzzle, they will always find the exit door.
Okay, so what is the mechanism behind that? They actually try and fail. So even like they try multiple times, but they never give up. So that's also what we should do as humans. And they explore. So they explore different environments in the wild, and that also helps them to adapt better and remember like the things they had to do to solve like riddles. And they are also very flexible creatures, which helps them like to squeeze into some places.
So now we have the cat. So the cat actually looks at us and they observe us and they see our daily routines and they actually remember. So if they see us eating breakfast, they know that the next thing we're going to do is brush our teeth. So they're actually conscious, as we said at the beginning of the presentation, they're conscious of everything that happens in their houses and everything. They can also adapt to different environments. So they can live in the house, but they can also live in the forest. Another fun fact is that they recognize the patterns in our behavior. So they just know like why are we like how are we gonna feel after, for example, shouts at us. Like if our parents shout at us, they know that we're gonna get grumpy. Or if we behave in a different way, they know that we're going to be sad. So they are actually learning about us a lot. So a fun fact that we did by our research is that the cat most of the time the cat recognizes your voice, but they just choose not to respond. So they're actually ignoring you on purpose. So just so you see the similarity, they remember things by their smell, the sound, and the touch. So it's very similar to how we remember things.
So now we have another game, and we're going to show you pictures of embryos of all the animals we talked about, and we want you to put a label to them. So guess which animal is which picture. So here are the options, and here are the pictures, and we're going to go in this order. So anybody wants to guess what the first animal is? Okay, Vicky? Okay. Next animal. Megan? Okay. The next animal, the third one. Yes, Vicky? Human, okay. The fourth animal. Anya? Okay. And the fifth animal. So this one. Vicky? I can't, okay. And the last animal. Romy? Okay. So you kind of mixed a lot of them up, but you got human, so that's nice. And cat, yeah, and cat. Okay, so now the conclusion. We can see that humans are quite similar to animals, and the only thing that separates us from them is the technology that we developed over the time. Because like anatomically and like we're very similar to animals, especially chimpanzees. And now I have a quote that I want you to remember anytime you look at an animal and you underestimate its intelligence or you think that they're not conscious. Okay, so if an animal can communicate, remember, feel emotion, and even help others, how different is its thinking from ours? Thank you.